Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 468. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is how to reverse engineer your business for success. How to reverse engineer your business for success. Now, what if I told you that you're looking at your business totally wrong? You see, there's a standard way that most people look at their business, and if they just flip it around, it can actually help you become more successful. You see, many entrepreneurs are struggling right now because they're not making enough money. And when that happens, you need to examine what products or services you're selling and how you connect with your audience that needs or wants your products or services. So we're going to discuss that today, and I'm going to give you several steps and teach you how to re-engineer or reverse engineer your business for success. Now, before we get to today's content, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and my resource links, such as the link to my latest book, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the ultimate prompting handbook for beginners. You can go to unlockingchatgpt.com for more information. That's unlockingchatgpt.com for more information. Also, don't forget to take advantage of our 3-day free access to the BEBacademy.com. That is our online learning portal where we have all types of online resources such as online courses, master classes, PDF downloads, and other resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Just go to the website blackentrepreneurblueprint.com and it's on the front page of the website. All right, let's get ready for today's content. On today's show, we're going to talk about reverse engineering your business. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock the secret of reverse engineering for your business and give you a step-by-step blueprint to help your business be more profitable. So first off, let's start by talking about what the definition of reverse engineering is, and then my definition of reverse engineering when it comes to entrepreneurship. Now, reverse engineering, this is the dictionary definition: the reproduction of another manufacturer's product following detailed examination of its construction or composition. This is from the dictionary, Webster's. The reproduction of another manufacturer's product following detailed examination of its construction or composition. That's the standard definition of reverse engineering. Now, here's my definition as it pertains to entrepreneurship. So my definition of reverse engineering is putting the problem before the product. Putting the problem before the product. Working backwards or in reverse from finding a problem to solve and then creating the product or service to sell. You see, sometimes you have to start from the end and move backwards to the beginning to find the product or service that makes most sense for you to sell. So most entrepreneurs say, hey, this is my product or service. Who can I sell it to? So today we're going to talk about reverse engineering your business. Now, this is probably going to be counterintuitive to a lot of people, but that's what you want. Many times the breakout companies go or swim against the stream. Okay, they don't do what everybody else does. So we're going to talk about how to reverse engineer your business for success. Now, this may entail scrapping what you're already doing and repositioning or pivoting your business. So let's talk about some of the steps to reverse engineer your business. So many entrepreneurs identify what they want to sell, but you can't identify or connect to a specific market that you want to sell to. So what most people are doing is they're putting the product before the problem. Now, you want to focus on the problem first and then create the product. And I'm going to go through and give you guys several examples of this. Now, today's show is not going to be super long. It's going to be straight to the point, and I want it to be super impactful. What I want you guys to do is look at your business in a different or another perspective. Because when you look at things with a different lens, sometimes you see things or opportunities that you didn't see before. So let's talk about some of the steps to reverse engineer your business for success. All right. Now, I always said the easiest and simplest way to start a business is find a problem and then solve that problem. So there are many ways that you can go about starting your business and determining what you're going to sell, products and or services. And we're going to get into that a little more deeply in a minute. But step number one is find a target audience that you can easily connect with. Find a target audience that you can easily connect with. And what do I mean by that? Being able to connect with your target audience, guys, is the key to having a successful business and making sales. How many of you have a good product or service, but you're not able to connect successfully with an audience? That's the biggest thing. If you don't have an audience that you can tap into, it's going to be super hard for you to sell. It doesn't matter what your product or service is. So once again, we're going to be or look to do something counterintuitive. So number one, find a target audience you can easily connect with, right? So can you identify an audience that you can easily connect with? And I'm going to give you a story. So I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, right? And every holiday season, I come out with these new sweatshirts, long sleeve tees, and hoodies called the 700 level. And I've talked about this on probably episodes a couple of years ago. But all Philadelphia Eagles fans that used to go to Veterans Stadium before the link was built, on the top row, it was called the 700 level. That's where the cheap seats were. That's where my season tickets were. And that section, guys, was super rowdy. You know, Philly fans have been given the rap as being some of the toughest fans in the country. And trust me, in that 700 level, it's true. I've seen Cowboy fans, Giants fans, Redskins fans get beat up. I've seen people throwing beer on grandparents and kids walking up the aisles. It was crazy back in the day. And I couldn't even take my girls to the games when they were younger because it was insane. But the 700 level, anybody that's an Eagles fan that's of any age will understand when you say, yo, the 700 level. So what I do every year during the holiday season, I create these 700 level t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies, and I'm able to market them directly to my target audience. Now, who's my target audience and how can I easily connect with them? Obviously, a Philadelphia Eagles fan is your target audience. Now, I'm not necessarily marketing to younger fans in their early 20s because they've never been in Veterans Stadium. I think it closed in 2004. But the older fans, you know, the grandparents, the people in their 40s, late 30s, whatever, they know exactly what the 700 level is. So because I could easily identify a market or a target market, I said, why not supply a product or a service that makes sense for that market? Okay, so when I talk about finding a target audience you can easily connect with on Facebook, there's tons of Eagles Facebook groups out there. Okay, so if you sell baby products, right, you can easily find groups or forums for new mothers. So now you're identifying an audience that you can easily connect with. It could be a Facebook group, some type of forum or whatever. So some audiences, guys, are harder to connect with than others, and that can be a major problem, right? So is your audience hard to connect with or easy to find? Once again, we're reverse engineering your business. Most times people start off with product that they create and then they look to sell it to somebody. What we're talking about is identify a problem or an audience or an affinity and then create the product or service to sell to. One of the things that you may want to do, depending upon the type of product you have, is use two intersecting demographic targets to laser focus your marketing. For example, Years ago, I took this course about how to sell t-shirts online. Now, everybody knows there are thousands upon thousands of websites that sell t-shirts, right? And what the guy was teaching made so much sense. I said to myself, why didn't I think of this? But what he talked about was using two intersecting demographic targets to laser focus your marketing. And he gave this example of a t-shirt he said that was selling like crazy. And the t-shirt basically said something like, I'm a proud wife of a New York City firefighter. Now, what did he just do with that targeting? Number one, he was able to identify a demographic area, New York City, and he was able to identify firefighters' wives. And when you can identify that, now you can pinpoint your marketing. So, for example, there are Facebook groups for firefighters and their spouses. So he was able to market to them directly. It makes sense. So he's not just selling t-shirts. He targeted who he wanted to sell to. So he found the audience and he provided a product or a service that met the needs of that audience. Now, here's another example of using dual marketing or dual demographics to target your audience. He has another t-shirt that said, no woman is perfect, but if you graduated from North Carolina A&T, you're pretty close, right? And I'm looking at the image right now, and it has a face with a hat, the North Carolina A&T colors on it. So they didn't have to do anything with the logo. I'll read it again. No woman is perfect, but if you graduated from North Carolina A&T, you're pretty close. So now he has two demographics, North Carolina A&T and women that graduated from them. So it's very easy for him to target. You can find Facebook groups of North Carolina A&T. You have sororities at North Carolina A&T, and now he can target market them. Now, both of these, they're not solving a problem, right? So nobody's solving a problem with this, and we're going to talk about what type of products or services that you sell. But what you notice is there is an affinity, okay? With the firefighters' wives, there's an affinity for being grouped or considered a wife of a firefighter. There's an affinity on being a woman that graduated from North Carolina A&T. Okay, and what we're talking about is how to reverse engineer your business for success. And step number one is find a target audience that you can easily connect to. That's the key word, guys, easily. All right. Now, if you're hell-bent on selling a particular product or service and you can't easily find or connect with an audience, then the other option is starting your own audience. So you can create a forum like on Quora, a Facebook group, a website, or some type of point where people can gather together for that specific audience, right? So if you went to an HBCU, right, you may create a Facebook group for HBCU or Instagram page or whatever. So if you can't already find an audience that's easily able to connect to, you can create your own. Now you're going to take longer and you're working harder and not smarter. Step number one, find a target audience that you can easily connect with. Step number two, determine what you're really selling. All right. And I'm going to break this down. Now, remember, the easiest way to make money, guys, is to find a problem and help people solve it. They don't care what color you are, how much it costs, if it's priced correctly based on what problem you're solving. You're solving a bigger problem, you can charge more money. You're solving a little problem, you're not going to be able to charge as much money. But determine what you're really selling. All right. So the first option is, are you selling or solving a problem? All right. Are you solving a problem, which is basically you're selling a solution to that audience? That's one option. The next one is, are you selling something that you're passionate about? So one of my best friends loves home automation, right? So he likes before he pulls into the house, he can hit a button in his car and his lights will go to a certain mode, or he can turn on things or whatever. Now, he loved it and was passionate about it, but he started a company and was trying to sell home automation when the economy was in a downturn. So people weren't buying it. So just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that other people are. And you have to look at what's going on in the economy and in your industry. Now, the other option when you're determining what you're really selling is, are you selling status, right? Are you selling status to that audience? Like, are you selling to someone's ego? by selling a high-end product or something like that. So, for example, if you sell expensive watches, look at Rolex. Rolex tells the same time as a Timex watch, right? But you're selling to somebody's ego or status when you walk around and you have a Rolex on your wrist. Ladies, with your pocketbooks, right? If you have a nice leather pocketbook, that's cool. But if you have a pocketbook by Louis Vuitton, that's a status or an ego type thing. You're not solving a problem there. So you have to understand, what are you really selling? Are you solving a problem? Are you selling something that you're passionate about? Or are you selling status to people's ego? And the last step is step number 3. Identify or create your product or service that you can sell to your audience, to an audience that is easy to find. Remember, guys, your audience is the key. If you can't get in front of people, then you're not going to sell anything. All right. And I'm going to give you some examples as we move on into today's show about some types of products that really they're for everybody, but they're really for nobody. And that's where you have to kind of tie in an affinity with that. And we'll talk about that a little later. So the first thing you want to do, guys, in this step 3 is identify or create your product or service that you can sell to an audience that's easy to find. Remember, there's only 6 type of things that you can sell. And I always stress this because people are all over the place in terms of what products or service they can sell to their audience. You can sell your physical products, your digital products, or your services, or you can sell somebody else's physical products, somebody else's digital products, or somebody else's services. So, for example, for your physical products, right? I gave you an example of a t-shirt. So you can sell your physical products. Your digital products, say you have a software that you created, you can sell your software. Your services, say you're a CPA or an accountant, you can sell your services. Now, let's talk about selling someone else's physical products, okay? So you can be an affiliate or a reseller selling somebody else's physical products, right? You didn't create the product, but you're going to sell the product. You see that a lot on Amazon, right? They're not the creators of a product, but they go to Walmart, find products that people buy, upload them to Amazon FBA, and you sell a product. So you're selling somebody else's physical product. You're selling somebody else's digital product, right? That could be an affiliate. You sign up for a software company, right? And now what you do is you market that software to other people, like QuickBooks. For me, I'm an affiliate with QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks for my business. And so now if you go on my website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, and you hit the QuickBooks link, that is my affiliate link. Okay, so you're selling somebody else's digital products and now selling somebody else's services. So say you're in the lead generation business, and what you do is you get leads for insurance agents. Now, you're not doing the service of being an insurance agent, but you're selling their services for them. Okay, so those are the only 6 things you can sell, guys. Your physical products, your digital products, your services, somebody else's physical products, somebody else's digital products, and somebody else's services. So that should help you when you're trying to figure out step number 3, determine or identify or create your products or services that you can sell to your audience that is easily identifiable. Okay. So I just went through the 3 steps, but now we're going to break it down a little more in detail. But just to rehash, number 1, step 1, find a target audience that you can easily connect with. Easily is the key word. Number 2, determine what you're really selling. Are you solving a problem? Are you selling something you're passionate about? Or are you selling status? And number 3, identify or create your product or service that you can sell to the audience that is easy to find. All right. So let me break it down even further, guys. And you want to research the problem, not the product. Research the problem, not the product. Now, this is for people that want to solve problems. We'll talk about the other 2 types of things that you can sell in a second. So stop looking about what product or service that you have and look at the audience that you can connect with. What is a problem out there? Okay, how can I solve it? Can I solve it with my own product or service, or can I use somebody else's product or service to sell? What you're doing, guys, is you're taking the path of least resistance. And what I mean by that is you're not trying to find an audience that's hard to connect with. All right. You want to take the least resistance out there. You want to find a problem that a lot of people have that you can create or produce a solution to. OK, research the problem, not necessarily the product. What is the problem? How can I solve it? And what am I going to solve it with? A physical product, a digital product, or a service. OK, so you want to identify or research the problem, not the product. OK, also, you want to identify a problem or an affinity. So if you're not selling something that solves a problem, then you need to have some type of affinity. I had a coaching client years ago that had a athletic apparel line, right? Now, the athletic apparel line was nice. The logo was nice and all of that, but there was no affinity to it. You have hundreds and thousands of different athletic clothing lines out there, and you have to figure out how are you going to stand out or who are you going to connect with, right? So now when you're just trying to sell a general athletic clothing line with hoodies, sweatpants, shorts, T-shirts, and all of that, if there's no demographic that you're focusing on or targeting on, then if you're selling to everybody, that means you're selling to nobody. So you have to understand, guys, you need to identify a problem or you need to identify an affinity that you can sell a product or service to, okay? So you want to ask yourself, is the audience that has that problem or the audience that has that affinity, are they easy to connect with? So you want to offer the audience a solution to their problem or something of interest to their affinity. For example, I mentioned HBCU colleges. So if my former coaching student had athletic wear that had HBCU stuff on it, then that's an affinity that he can easily tap into on Facebook, Instagram, all types of social media. Is it a fraternity? Is it a club? Is it a veterans organization? Is it a Christian target market that you're looking for? So you're selling athletic wear. Now you can sell athletic wear to Christians with different scriptures on them, right? That's easier to target. You can find Christian affinity groups. You can find veteran affinity groups, okay? So these are the things that you have to really hone in on. Once again, if you sell to everybody, you're selling to nobody. So when you have products that don't solve a problem, then you really need to lock in with an affinity, something that a group has in common, and then you sell something that's attractive to that group. So if I'm a veteran, right, and every year you got Veterans Day, you got Memorial Day, you got all these different holidays, you can create a T-shirt line specifically to target veterans, right? Now, does that make sense? Yeah, it makes too much sense. So don't slip on the affinity, okay? Now, let me talk about this in a little bit more detail, the importance of affinity and your marketing. Remember, if you're not solving a problem, you're going to need to have some type of affinity to sell your product or service to. And I just gave you the example of athletic clothing, right? Is there a specific target or affinity audience that you want to sell your athletic clothing to? If you come out with a generic line of clothing like the J. Jones athletic wear, and I don't have some type of affinity, then guess what? I'm not going to sell product. I have no affinity. I'm selling to everybody, which means, once again, I'm selling to nobody. Here's another example of the importance of affinity, right? And being able to market to an affinity group. When you have a product that doesn't solve a problem or something that you're not passionate about, it's a generic product. And I'm going to use playing cards, right? I'm just coming off the top of my head with this. So if you have a playing card company and you're a one-person shop and you know that it's going to be hard for you to get into Walmart's, Targets, and all of that because there are a couple major players that manufacture playing cards that have the industry on lock. But let's think about some of the affinities that you can create or market to move your playing card decks. So just say you create a card deck that connects with veterans, right? So on the back of your card, it could be the American flag, right? Or it could be, if you're trying to connect with people in the Navy, it could be a battleship on the back of it, or a series of battleships. If you're trying to connect with the Air Force, it could be a fighter jet. If you're trying to connect with the Army, it could be a Green Beret image or something like that. So now you can find these different affinity groups on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, and you can market to them based on what your affinity is, what the theme of your cards are. Now, all of the playing cards on the front, they're the same numbers, 2 through ace and joker. But on the back is where it makes the difference of where your affinity is. Now, what you're saying is, I'm connected to this group or this organization. Okay. And that's how you sell when you're really not solving a problem. And if you have a generic product, it could work for puzzles. It could work for T-shirts or whatever. T-shirts aren't solving a problem. People buy T-shirts for one or two reasons. Number one, it's affinity, or it's a status or an image. People buy these Supreme T-shirts for $1,000. They'll buy a Louis Vuitton freaking cotton T-shirt, spend $350 for it. All right, that's status selling, right? Or you can do affinity, like my Black Entrepreneur Blueprint T-shirt, the best seller. There's no revolution without economics, with the black fist on it. That's an affinity. I'm not just selling generic T-shirts. You guys need to be able to understand that you need to lock into an affinity. But once again, you have to have an audience that's easy to find. And we're talking about reverse engineering your business. You research the problem, then you create the product. Or if you're not solving a problem, you research the affinity. How am I able to connect to this affinity group? There was a company out there called MBNA. Started out as a small bank, Maryland Bank, National Bank, or whatever. Small company, right? Maryland National Bank turned into MBNA. And all they did was offer credit cards that were affinity cards. They had a NASCAR affinity card. Okay. And so a percentage, NASCAR partnered up with MBNA and they were selling. They had the NFL was partnering up with MBNA. Okay. And they had affinity credit cards for all of the football teams. And so the only difference and the reason that MBNA was so successful is because they actually were an affinity credit card company. Their credit cards weren't different than anybody else. But what they did was they linked up with NASCAR and said, hey, 1 or 2% of anybody that spends on this card, we're going to kick that back to NASCAR. So now NASCAR has that affinity in that database. When NASCAR sends out information to its fans and audiences, guess what? They're going to market their credit card, the NASCAR credit card. You see it right now with airlines, right? You get American Airlines credit card. That's an affinity card. You see it with travel, Marriott. Marriott has an affinity card. They don't actually create their own credit cards. They're actually partnering up with credit card companies that do that. So the importance of affinity and your marketing is crazy. So if you're not solving a problem, if you're not selling to ego or status, or if you're not selling something that you're passionate about, there's always an affinity. And that's what I talk about, reverse engineering your business, guys. Find the market first that you're easily able to tap into. Find that market, then you create your product and or service, okay? And this is for all my creators that sell generic things, be it playing cards, you got T-shirt lines, you got puzzles or whatever. You have to have an affinity. You're not going to be able to come out with a generic product, right? Say, for example, you sell something. I was in Walmart the other day. If you sell toothbrushes, right? Guess what? There's so many big manufacturers of toothbrushes, it's going to be hard to sell on a large scale. But if you say, hey, I'm a black manufacturer of toothbrushes selling to black people, that's an affinity. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the podcast, the ecosystem, everything like that. It is an entrepreneur podcast, but it's based for or targeted to black entrepreneurs specifically. The content, everything about it is for us, by us. That is an affinity. When I first started the podcast, well, actually when I was on terrestrial radio, years ago, before I started the podcast in 2014, I was on several AM stations in Philadelphia, right? And the show was called The Entrepreneur Advantage. So now I'm a generic entrepreneur radio show. When I decided to leave the station and go what they called back at the time internet radio, which is podcasting, right? I said, you know what? I need to have an affinity. I need to lock into something that I can go deep in. And because I was an entrepreneur, I'm black, and I'm all about, helping our culture, helping us elevate through economics and entrepreneurship. I said, you know what? I'm going to change the name to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint and focus on that. So my affinity, and the reason why BEB is so popular and gets so many downloads is because I have an affinity with the market that I'm in. I am a black entrepreneur, so I can speak to it from experience, not theory. So that is an affinity. So guys, don't sleep on the importance of affinity as it pertains to your marketing, especially if you sell something that's not solving a problem, right? You got to lock in or connect with other, with some type of audience that you can easily connect with. So think about it. If you sell a product or service for people that like to sew, you can easily find that community, right? What are some of the problems in that community that you can solve? Can you find an audience of people that are trying to lose weight? Weight Watchers, right? Of course you can. There are other type of things. Can you find an audience easily of new mothers? You sell strollers, right? So now you want to find an audience of who's going to use the stroller. Can I go through Facebook and find these different groups, these mom groups? I know when my kids were little, my wife used to be in what they call Mocha Mom. I don't know if it's still around, but it's for black mothers with young children. You can join those groups. You can create a Quora forum where you talk about things. Hey, what are the best strollers for people that like to run? If you sell those type of strollers, and you can create your own forum. Now, once again, that's working harder, not necessarily smarter. Now, before we get to the last section of the show, guys, let me give you all of my resource links and my contact information. I'm going to keep it super simple. The best thing to do is go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. That's the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Everything I'm about to tell you is on the website. If you're lazy, go to BEBconnect.com, BEBconnect.com. That will take you directly to the website. I mentioned at the top of the show, guys, my new book is out, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the ultimate prompting handbook for beginners. If you want to leverage AI, make money with it, be more productive, make sure you go to unlockingchatgpt.com, unlockingchatgpt.com. Also, I mentioned you can get 3 days free access to BEB Academy. You can go to BEBacademy.com or just go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. It's on the front page of the website. It's our online learning portal with all types of online courses, masterclasses, downloads, and PDFs to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Now, also on the front page of the website, you'll see 2 other programs, Brand Builder Academy Elite. You can go and check that out if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business with physical products and or digital products. And also, Pound for Pound, one of my best programs out there, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. And your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. The problem is people don't know how to monetize it. Those are all on the front page of the website. Now, if you want to connect with me, guys, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, JAYJONES@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001, Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts, guys. The first one is jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4. REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Connect with me on LinkedIn too, guys. Go there and search for J Jones Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Connect with me there. Also, don't forget YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Now, if you're a first-time listener, the show drops every Monday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on all your major podcast platforms and YouTube. Now, in order to get this information, if you want my contact information and can't write it down, go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, hit the About page, and under my bio, there are all the links to my social media. So once again, go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. So now in this last segment of the show, guys, it's really pretty much a wrap up. And what we talked about, guys, was how to reverse engineer your business for success. So you research the problem, not the product. Okay, really, it's all about the audience. What is the audience that you can easily connect to? What does that audience want or need? Do they have a problem that you can solve? Is there something you can sell that's an affinity? Are you selling something that you're passionate about? But it's always about connecting to the audience. So the harder it is to connect to the audience, the harder it is for you to make sales. Okay, so if you're selling something and you can't easily connect to the audience, then guess what? You're not going to make that sales. But if you can identify an audience and connect to that audience, then it's once again, it's smoother sailing. It's the path of least resistance. Most people think that, hey, I'm going to create my product or service. I got a great book I'm going to write. If you're doing this for money, right? I got a great book I'm going to write. Then you try to figure out who the hell you're going to sell it to. Right? I'm gonna do a playing card company. There's no black playing card companies out there. That's fine. Is there an affinity that you can connect with? Because you're not solving the problem. Okay? People aren't buying playing cards for status, right? So once again, it has to be an affinity. So don't sleep on that. Remember, what I'm talking about today, guys, is counterintuitive to most businesses. You want to reverse engineer your business for success. Look at the back end and then work forward. What's a problem, or what's the audience that I can connect to easily? What's a problem that audience has? Or is there an affinity product or service that I can provide to that audience that they want? Or is it a status product or service that I can provide to that audience that they want? Okay, you got to find an audience that's ready, willing, and able to buy what you're selling. Okay, and if you can't find the audience, the rest of it is a moot point. Okay, so understand that. And I want to close with this. It's all about perspective, right? So the way that you perceive your business, the way that you perceive business is done, the way that you perceive how to build a successful business. Now, I may be a little different because I don't have favorite products or services, right? I enjoy the business of doing business. I enjoy creating. I let the BEB family tell me what they want when it comes to products and services. You guys reach out to me through DMs, emails, and all that stuff. Hey, can you create something that's going to help me do this, that, or the other thing? But if you don't have that, remember, it's all about perspective. So your perspective on something, you and another person may be looking at the same thing, but your perspective on something is going to be totally different from that other person. So here's an example. If you're used to making $10,000 a month, right? And somebody else is used to making $2,000 a month, and you see a job posted that pays $5,000 a month, your perspective on that $5,000 job is going to be totally different. So if you're making $2,000, you're like, yeah, that's a good job. If you're making 10 grand and it's paying $5,000, you're like, I'm not even thinking about it. It may be a good job, but it's all based on perspective. And so you need to change your perspective when you look at your business. I don't care if you love what product or service. If you're not solving a problem, if there's no affinity, if you're not talking to people's ego by selling something that's going to help them or their status or perceived status, guess what? It's going to be hard for you to sell anything. Work from the back to the front. Where's an audience I can tap into? What's a product or service that I can sell to them that either solves a problem or has some type of affinity? You can go right on to Facebook right now, and you can probably find 20 different veterans organizations or Facebook groups. What do veterans have? Is there a problem in that group? Is there something that I can sell them to help solve a problem? Is there something that I can sell them that they have an affinity to? Okay. and HBCUs. Can I help solve a problem with people in that group or that affinity? So think about the audience that you can easily connect to first. Last quick example. My same buddy that loves home automation, he also loves Porsches, right? He's a car buff. And so he's talking about selling aftermarket parts to Porsche owners. And I said, that is a great market. I said, you're easily able to connect to people that love Porsches through Facebook, Instagram, and all of these different groups and clubs. So now that he understands that the audience is right in front of him, he can give them what they want or what they need. Okay. And that's the whole key. Reverse engineer your thought process to reverse engineer your business. Find an audience first, then find a solution to that audience's problems, or find something that has an affinity to that audience that they have a high propensity of buying. And that's how you reverse engineer for success. Now, this may take you totally away from what you started doing. But if you're struggling with your business now, there's reasons for that. And one of the reasons is maybe you're not talking to the right audience. Maybe you can't connect with the audience that you need to connect with because they're not easily found. So you have to do some due diligence, and you may need to scrap it. Worst case scenario, test out what I'm telling you. Find an audience, find a problem in that audience, or find some type of affinity product or service and sell it to them. So you could be a CPA right now, but if you found an audience that you can connect with, go ahead and try to put a product or service out and see what happens when you have a readily available audience that's easy to find. All right, guys, I say this each and every week because it's true. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new BlackEntrepreneurBlueprint.com website, and the whole ecosystem. We want BlackEntrepreneurBlueprint.com to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs. Make sure you guys check out the website. We have all types of resources on there. We talk about marketing, finance, mindset, scaling your business, e-commerce, everything you need to help elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.